So welcome back students. So today we will go through some of the theory part. So before we start, let me just tell you about the book. The things that I want to clear about the book is if the book is available in the market for the current session, for the current syllabus, you can go ahead and purchase the book. The book that I have recommended to you was of Dhampat Rai publication of Sumita Arora. You can go ahead and you can purchase it. And if it is not of the current session, then just wait for a few more days. If it gets available in the market, then you can purchase it. Till then time, children, it's not really a big thing for us. It is not really going to matter. Few more days, it is not going to matter. And anyway, we have this ebook. This particular ebook also has a lot of things that is there in the syllabus. Okay, Python is almost all same. It's just that it is 2.7 version in this book, and the version that we are working is the current version that was 3.7 plus we are working with 3.8 version, so that is completely okay. So the version issue is there. Other than that, the code that is being given in this particular book is of 2.7, but we are working with the current version. So I would suggest to wait for a few more days, but if the book is available of the current session, then go ahead and purchase the book that I just told you, so that you can go through the theory part as well. So today, just let us just go through the theory part of this particular book. So I guess this was the first chapter, getting started with Python. This was the interactive mode. So now I guess everybody is clear what exactly is a interactive. Everybody is clear about the interactive mode. Okay, so this is the shell mode. So we can give one particular command, one particular statement, and then if you press enter, it is going to give you the output immediately. So that is the shell mode, but normally we are going to work with that is the script mode. So you can perform these operations in the shell mode. You can go ahead and perform these mathematical operations. If you are using the print function, then make sure you give the parenthesis, that is the brackets. Okay, so result of the tuple, the word tuple, do not worry about the word tuple. Okay, we are going to know about tuple. In fact, there is a complete chapter on tuple, so we're going to have completely going to go through what exactly a tuple is. So this is actually one of the data type of Python. Okay, and then what they have said is like while writing in Python, remember Python is case sensitive. This is what I've told you. That means a capital X, a small x, or a capital X are different in Python. So make sure you any function that is in small case, just like the print function which is in small case letters, you cannot type this in capital letters. Okay, and how to quit it, how to restart the shell using F6. You can start the restart the shell, and after the prompt, what you get is the license and everything. If you want to know, just type credits and it will tell you the license, copyrights, help. Python is absolutely free of cost. You can use it, you can develop softwares using Python, and you can distribute it, which means you can sell it to your clients. So you can develop a complete software in Python and you can sell it to your clients. You can develop a mobile app and you can launch your mobile app, and you can list your mobile app in the uh, Google Play, and so that people can download it. So you can develop any kind of software using Python. You can develop an amazing web application, that means a kind of a website, online software, websites, everything you can develop in Python. You can develop some AI features for your, for anything, for your computer, for your for your robotics, right? So everywhere Python is used. So let us, so this was the code that was given, and I do not recommend this particular code because this is a function that is used. So right now this will confuse you a lot, so do not go for this particular code. And variables and the types. Okay, so let us read this. When we create a program, we often like to store values so that it can be used later. We use objects to capture data. So one thing, okay, that they've done right over here is the word objects, because in Python everything is an object. Even a simple variable is considered as an object. Object is kind of identity or an entity. Okay, so that's what they have said, identity, but it is actually an entity which has certain characteristics and functions, or characteristics and behaviors. Now this is maybe a bit complex at this time to understand, but as you go through the programming and with a few months down the lane, these are certain things you're going to understand in a much better way. Okay, at this time, okay, you just understand that everything in Python is object. And so Python is uh, you know that is double OP and a small s I'm giving. And what does this mean is, okay, what does this mean is, Python is a object oriented programming system language. So object oriented programming systems, that is, in short, we call that as OOPS. So Python supports OOPS, or sometimes you can also find this just as O and P, and there is no S over here. X is neglected. So some of you, they might refer this as OOPS concept. So Python supports the OOPS concept, and some of you might refer this as Python supports the OOP concept. So the system word is neglected sometimes. Okay, so if you really search the websites and all on the web, you will find both these terms basically. So object oriented programming, this is what it means. So Python completely is a object oriented programming. In fact, if in today's time, if there is any programming language that does not support OOPS concept, it's very difficult for the language to sustain in the market, to be in the market. Okay, so any modern programming language needs to have the OOPS concept. That is very important. Okay, so these are the new terms that I've told you. So every object has identity and ID. Okay, so this is okay, we will see to this. It is basically a entity and it has an ID. This is what it means to say actually. Okay, so this is completely fine. Okay, then a type can be used by the type and then the object. So as I said, everything is an object. Is even a variable is a object. So let me just go to Python and just prove this point to you. And children, just in between, I just want to tell you that maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow, so tomorrow is Thursday or Friday, so if not tomorrow, then on Friday we will be going on the Zoom app. I mean, we are going to have the session on Zoom. So if you have any doubt, you can clear it on Friday or by tomorrow. Okay, so depends, children. If not tomorrow, definitely we are going to go on the Zoom app. On Zoom session we are going to have on Friday. Okay, so that is one more thing. So let's get back to the topic. So if I say a is equal to 2, so this makes a as a integer variable. The name of the variable is a, and I can simply say print, and I can use the function that is type function, and this is going to give me the type of the object, since a is a variable. And as I said, even a, the variable, is also an object. So it is just showing me something, and it means a lot, because there's a lot of meaning to this, because it says this is an object and this belongs to a class that is int. Okay, it belongs, this particular variable is an object, and every object actually comes from a class. Please understand this. So this belongs to a class that is int. Okay, let us have this one more, that is Sunbeam. And if I say print type and then I give b and then I press enter, and now you can see that it is giving me the output that this particular variable belongs to the class that is str, that is string. Okay, if I say c is equal to 2.5, and then I can give the print type c, and now this particular variable belongs to the class that is float, that is floating number. So everything in Python is an object, and that is very much, it should be clear to you. Python is an object oriented language. Okay, so these are the words, sentences that should be fixed in your mind, that Python is an object oriented language. It supports the OOPS concept, that is object oriented programming system. Everything in Python is an object, it belongs to certain class. Okay, so then what we are going to do is switch to the theory part. Let us study, let me take the pen, let us study all these in detail. So identity of an object, it is the object's address in the memory. And I guess yesterday I had shown you using the id function that how you can display the address of a particular memory. I also told you that the variables like integer, floating numbers, and the string variables, they are immutable variables. Immutable means we cannot change the value of the variable, which means the value of the variable does not get changed. But also we can, we normally say that if a is equal to 2, then I can print a, and then I can say a is equal to 2.5. I can change the values, but the value is the value of a is not getting changed, because a is simply pointing to the memory locations, right? And that particular memory location, the value remains fixed in a way. And this is the whole thing that I've told you yesterday, and I've explained that thing pretty clearly. So one more time, if the voice wasn't clear yesterday, so if I just want to say print and I use id of a, so this is going to give me the memory location of a. Now what is the value of a? The value of a is 2. Now let me go ahead and give the value to b as 2 again, and now if I use the print function and use the id of b, and you can see this is the exactly the same number, isn't it? This is exactly the same number, which means a and b both are pointing to the same memory locations. So variables like integer, floating numbers, and strings are simply pointers. Pointers means they are simply pointing to the memory location which has the value. So there is a memory location, and the address of that particular memory location is this, and it has the value 2. So a is pointing to this particular memory location, and b will also point to the same memory location. It will not create another memory block because the value is same. So both the variables are pointing to the same memory location. And yesterday I made this thing pretty clear. If it is not, let me just go to the PowerPoint presentation, and we will go to the whiteboard. So using the figures, I can just explain this thing pretty clearly. Yesterday there was some voice issue. So let me just run this, and okay, I'll do it over here only. So what happened yesterday was, okay, I told yesterday that this is a memory block, okay, and there is a value that will be stored in this particular memory block, and there will be certain number, just like what I've shown the number over here. uh, just now what we did, the id, using the id we displayed some number. So a is simply pointing to that memory block. Now I created one more variable, that was b, and assigned the same value, that is 2. So when b will be pointing to the same memory block, so a and b are pointing to the memory block. So we're not doing anything with a and b actually. Practically, internally, this is what happens. But now what happens is, if I just switch to, just discard this. Now if I switch to b is equal to 5, and now I use the same id for printing the address of b, and now you can see that this is a different memory location. Why? Because the value is 5 now. So now a new block has got assigned for b, right? So this is what happens, and this is what I explained yesterday. And these are the different data types. Even this I have told yesterday, that what are data types, that is type of data. So there are various types of data that we have. If you talk about numbers, there are three types of numbers that Python will support, that is integer, floating points, and the complex numbers. Even boolean is considered as a number, but normally we use boolean just to check, do some checking, that is true and false. Okay, if it is true, if it is false, for that purpose we are going to make use of the boolean. And we have integer, floating numbers, and the complex number. These are the standard number formats that the Python is going to support. We have a special data type that is called as none. None means nothing. Okay, so you can use this, children. You can use, for example, I say a is equal to, and capital N, that is very important. Okay, let me just restart this shell, so that, okay, let me just start this again. We can come on the top. Okay, so none is also a special data type that we have in Python. So if I say a is equal to none, which means nothing. So if you really want that, I want to assign something to a which is nothing basically, so you can just give none, and make sure that n is capital. So if I give something like n, a is equal to small n, none, so this is going to give you an error because it is not recognizing this. This is capital N and then followed by the small letters O and E. So a is equal to, again like this, none, and then I print, that is type. Let us have type, and let us check what the type is. And the type is, it belongs to a class which is called as none type. Okay, and we are going to make use of this particular data type also in the future. So these are some kind of, you can say, a special data types. Even boolean we have, and we have the none. We're going to go through all that. And if you really want a boolean, like, the word boolean, we're not going to make use of the word boolean. It stands for actually true and false. So I can say a is equal to true. Now capital T, make sure that. So this will indicate that a means that is true. And if I say print id of, sorry, not id, that is type, and of a, so it is belongs to a class that is, you can say, that is boolean class. So it belongs to the class that is bool, that is boolean. Okay, similarly I can use b is equal to false, and if I use the print and type b, you can see it belongs to the same class, right? So true and false belongs to the boolean class. Okay, so that is one more point. So everything, children, you have to practically implement, and then you can understand it. So this is about the numbers, a special data type, that is none. And then we have some sequences, means the data is stored in a sequence, and the sequence are strings. Already we have worked, I've shown you what a string is. What is a string? That is a collection of characters, isn't it? So that becomes a string. So if I say something like, okay, at the bottom you can see that is a is equal to maybe sunbeam. So this becomes a string. Why? Because it is a collection of characters. And then simply I can say print a, it is going to print. And if I say print type, what is the type of a? That is, it belongs to the class that is of str, that is string class. So it is a collection of characters, so it is called as sequences. And then we have others, like we have tuple, Okay, that's a tuple, and we're going to learn about this. There are separate chapters for these children. Okay, strings, we have a complete chapter. For tuple, we have a complete chapter, and we have list. And then we have sets also, but I guess sets is not the part of the syllabus, but it's very interesting, so I'm going to tell you about sets as well. Okay, so there is something, a special data type, that is sets. And then for mapping purpose, means there will be a pairing. Now at this point maybe you won't really get this pretty clearly, but we have dictionary. Okay, so the question is, what are the basic data type of Python? And this question, trust me, every time it comes to you, even during the, in class 12 when you're going to have your final practical exams. So we have the examiners coming from outside, and they always ask this question: what are the basic data type of Python? And I want you to make this or fix it in your mind pretty clearly. If the question comes, what are the data types in Python? So Python has the data types, that is numbers, and numbers can be further categorized in this. We have none, a special data type you can say. Then we have strings, that is tuple, list, dictionary, and sets. These are the basic data type of Python. So what are the basic data types of Python? Numbers, or you can also ignore none in that particular answer. You can talk about none and boolean afterwards, but the main is numbers, string, tuple, list, dictionary. Five. These five should be fixed in your brain. That is numbers, string, tuples, list, and dictionary. These are the basic data types of Python. Other than this, we have none, we have boolean, and numbers are further categorized into integer, floating, and complex numbers. This is what you can give as a perfect answer. So children, I hope this is pretty clear to you for today. So then we have, see, numbers, then they have given numbers is integer and long. Floating numbers, integer and long numbers means basically long. We actually don't have this in 2 point, the current version that we have. So this was 2.7, so we have a further category of integer and long. So basically integer can range, if you really want to know, these are the range. So these are the numbers, maximum numbers that can be stored in an integer variable, and that is with the plus and minus sign. Okay, and this is 2.7. So I'm telling, and if it is a long number can really store very huge numbers. Okay, and it is denoted with L, but this is, we are not going to use this, children, because the current version that we are working, we don't have this. So you do not need to worry about an integer and long. Straight away we have integers, floatings, and the complex numbers. So you do not have to worry about the range also. Okay, so this is about then we have true and false, as I've just explained this, that is the boolean type, true and false. And a boolean true value is non-zero, non-null, and non-empty. This might be a bit confusing, but simply it stands for true and false. Already I've shown this, this activity already I've done this. And then we have the floating numbers. So floating numbers, okay, we are going to this is very if we have something into as a fractional value, so 0.98 or so, whatever it is. So these are the fractional numbers or the decimal points. Such numbers are called as floating numbers. So if there is something, a large numbers like minus 2.0 into 10 raised to 5, so that is a kind of a short form that we can have for the floating numbers. But in Python, if this is the number that we have, so in Python that 10 will be replaced by e, so that e and 5, so that is 10 raised to 5. We are not really going to work a lot. You can have small e or capital E, so that is 2 into 10 raised to minus 5 will be in Python represented as 2 point, and then we have the 2.0 and into 10. So at the place of 10 we are going to have that exponent sign, that is e. Okay, so Frankly speaking, we're not really going to work a lot with floating numbers. All we're going to work with integer numbers. We are going to work with other data type, that is string, list, dictionary, and tuples. So these are the major data types that we are going to work with. If we talk about numbers, we are going to work with integers. Okay, so example, they have shown how it has been stored. And then we have something called as the complex number. So if you are not really aware of complex number, or might be in mathematics you might have started with the complex number, so understand that there is a real part and the imaginary part. So complex number basically in Python is made up of two floating point values, one each for the real and the imaginary part. So this is some for scientific um, calculations. We normally use the complex number if you don't know about this. So some scientific calculations for some research, scientific research point of view, for or some other examples for complex number. Yeah, you can say it's for the scientific calculations we use the complex number. So we are not really going to make use of complex number, but yes, this is one of the numbers that the Python supports. Okay, to for accessing different parts of the value, that is object x, where we will use x, that is the real part. So x is the real part, one, and this is the imaginary part. So imaginary part of the number is represented by j instead of I. Okay, 0, that is the imaginary number. So this is the imaginary number and this is the real number. So children, this is really used for scientific purpose. We are not going to make use of the complex number, so do not worry about it. So if you really want to have, that is, this is the real part, 9 minus 5j, and you want to display the real part and the imaginary part, so you can use print y dot real comma y dot. Okay, let us just do this and we'll end this. So I say a is equal to 9 plus and 10j, so that becomes a complex number. And if I say a dot real, a dot that was comma real and imac, that is the word. And you can see it has displayed the real part and the imaginary part. Okay, so just an example. So these are the different numbers. Okay, I just closed down it by default by mistake. Anyway, so that was the number systems. Then we have, the numbers that Python supports, that is the integer, floating numbers, and the complex numbers. Okay, then we have none. This is a special data type. As I kept on saying, it is a kind of a special data type. So with a single value, it is used to signify the absence of value, false in a situation. It is represented by none, means nothing, empty. It's something, a variable doesn't have a value, but you want to have the variable, so you can simply assign none to it. Okay, and then we have sequences, children, and we are going to have a separate chapters for this, so do not worry, you do not really need to read this part. Okay, do not worry. Okay, then tomorrow I'm going to show you how you're going to, this is a typecasting, and I'm going to tell you about typecasting tomorrow. Okay, so for the book, I think I made it very clear. So if it is of the current session, you can go ahead and purchase. Otherwise, just wait for a few more days, and or else whatever version we have in the market, you can purchase the book. I told you which book you have to purchase. So go ahead and follow the instructions. And tomorrow or day after tomorrow, we will have a session on Zoom. So I hope everything is clear to you and the voice was pretty clear and okay for today. So that's it, children. Bye for now.